r/off my chest. Signal embarrassed 616 says, I, F31, have never been in a relationship and I truly believe I'm unattractive. One of the most annoyingly frustrating things is being unable to talk about feeling unattractive. Everyone keeps telling me I need to learn to love myself and shouldn't base my self-confidence on what others think of me, but frick that. What people think matters, no matter how often people try to push that narrative. That's just how the world works. I've never been called cute, pretty or beautiful in any form without my own prompting. It's never been given to me freely. I've never been on a real date, men don't show interest in me, and I feel hopeless and alone. I know I'm ugly, I know my genetic disorder makes people cringe at my skin. And no friend has the decency to listen to how I feel, and they just deny it. Oh, you're being dramatic. No, you're cute. Don't worry about that, people. Think about your body. It's not a big deal. Well, what the frick am I supposed to think? And yes, it is a big deal. I want to feel sexy. I want to feel wanted. And I've never felt that. I always hear women talking about how annoying it is when they feel objectified or hit on by men, and yes, I can see how that can be annoying and gross, but also I would give anything for that to happen to me because it never has. Why is needing validation such a bad thing? Should I just accept that I'm gross and no one will love me or find me sexy? Will I ever experience someone craving me physically and mentally? Having an insatiable sex drive and no one to find you sexy? Well, this is a special kind of torture that makes me think about dying often. Tell me, what does it feel like to be loved? The _purple_goat says, I know how you feel. That whole you must love yourself without any external validation doesn't work. We are social animals and we need that social input. Know that this random redditor feels your pain. Signal embarrassed 616 says, thanks for reading. Mora Lester says, I'm in a similar position. 29F, never gotten past a first date. It sucks. When your younger people tell you to just wait it out, the right one will come along eventually. Then you hit your mid-20s and suddenly everyone around you is getting married and having kids, but you're just there. Still alone. Going to group events is awkward because you're always the odd one out. It's lonely. And people say I'm nice and funny. I have friends. But no one wants to be more than that no matter what I do. I wish I had advice for you, or even for myself. Online dating sucks, but it's hard to meet anyone I will either. It's discouraging and exhausting to keep putting yourself out there just to get rejected once again. But I guess we have to just keep trying. I don't know you, but I know that you're worthy of love and feeling wanted. Your person is out there somewhere, and it will be worth the wait when you find them. Signal embarrassed 616 says, right back at you. You deserve love. Don't give up. I'm trying really hard not to fall into giving up. Doominator 79 says, there's a lot to break down here, and a face-to-face conversation is the only proper way to talk about all of it. Here's what I can say now, however. While it is true what you look like matters more than people say, confidence is just as important. If you don't think you're attractive, no one will. I know that sounds weird, and I thought it was BS too. I was proven wrong when I started to dress and act the way I was most comfortable with, and I started to actually attract people rather than creep them out, though I still do that too. I know they're hard to come by these days, but there are people out there that will love you for who you are and what you look like. My BF still has a hard time believing I find them attractive. The way you're thinking isn't wrong. In fact, it's truer than people want to admit. Just believe me when I say you'll find someone that really finds you attractive. OFC beauty is subjective, so not everyone will, and maybe most won't. Though definitely there are people that do find you attractive. First, find your happy place and be the most comfortable and true to you version of yourself that you can be. Then you'll find people that think you're attractive. Hopefully that made sense, and it helps somewhat. If you want to follow up with more, I'll gladly carry the convo on. It's now time for an unpaid shoutout. Check out Entropic Decay Gaming on YouTube for retro long plays and GoldenEye 64 custom maps. Lance Cassidy's love for classic gaming will transport you back to a time when games were simpler, but no less exciting. Subscribe now using the link in the description. r/offmychest. Working_chimps says, I would rather kill myself than eat another roast dinner. For context, a roast dinner is a traditional British dish that for some reason fellow British people are, I'm obsessed with. The meal consists of unseasoned bland boiled white chicken, occasionally some chewy indistinguishable lamb, bland boiled vegetables and a Yorkshire pudding, which is technically a cup of dry, pastry. We still eat like the Germans are flying overhead. This meal consists of absolutely zero flavor and is the absolute worst way to end off your week. The worst part is that we have this meal as a substitute for lunch and dinner, despite it being the size of a normal meal. When I move out, my household will never bear whiteness to another roast dinner. I'm tired of being called a picky eater for not enjoying an atom of this meal. If you took this meal to the most starved, desperate part of Africa, they would turn it down. My people are vile and disgusting. Millimalimal says, OMG, your post made me laugh. A proper Sunday roast is nothing like you described. I'm so sorry you seem to have experienced appalling cooking. You sound like you're stuck in a 1970s sitcom. Zinging Kitty 35 says, right. I used to live in England, in Yorkshire, and Sunday roasts were the best. Yorkshire puddings are my fave. My ex's grandma always made them for the roast. They were extremely flavorful and delicious. Maybe whoever is cooking for op just isn't a good cook. Seamus Biagra says, boiled chicken, haha, who the serves boiled chicken in a roast? I mean, the clue's in the name. Madahedger Hog says, haha, you've never had a proper Sunday roast. Gayacha says, sucks that her parents can't cook. Lol, a good roast is elite and widely represented globally. I.e. many cultures have a celebratory meal involving roasted vegetables and meat with a sauce that reflects local tastes. Showing her age here, little one. OK_structure_1497 says, boiled chicken. What? I have never seen or eaten boiled chicken. Signal acceptable 3422 says, this comment section is funny as hell. Idiot the Tread says, I love roast. If you are calling it bland, then you clearly haven't had it seasoned properly. Spitafiel Optimist says, I visited England last year to see my mom and stepdad. I had his roast dinner and I was really struggling to get it down. The meat was okay, the veggies were the best part, and the gravy was, I didn't like it. There's good British food, but the roast dinner is not for me. Fit_measurement_2420 says, I made a roast dinner a couple weeks ago, and it was amazing. I season my food well, so it was very tasty. Angel Doves 31 says, took me years to enjoy a roast dinner, but it was only the one. Haven't found another quite like it. Just depends how it's made and if it's seasoned, etc. But of course not everyone will like it anyway. r/offmychest. Redoblaho says, someone I wasn't even dating broke up with me. I had this one guy friend from high school. We met again at uni and we started hanging out frequently. We became pretty close, and at some point I figured he liked me. I didn't want him, and I didn't want to be mean to him, so I just acted oblivious, as long as he didn't say anything. Anyways, yesterday I was just chilling, and he texted me saying we need to break up. I thought that was for someone else, so I just sent a question mark. This MF sent a whole paragraph saying why we need to end things. Like, bruh, what? I called him, and he didn't answer. I asked WTF he meant break up, we were never together, and he just blocked me. This is the most random thing I've ever experienced. But I need answers. I wonder what made him think we were together. We've never even held hands. FatKang0508 says, oh, you weren't dating him, but he was dating you in delusional land. Congrats on your BF leaving you and giving you your freedom back, LMAO. Redoblaho says, IDK, what I'm gonna to do without him, I'm so devastated. FatKang0508 says, my sister has a guy that does this. He'll talk to her as if they're together, and we just sit back, smoke, and laugh at him. Sibling bonding at its finest. Bala69 says, classic move. Make a fantasy about her crush in her head, that is, so the vid you even start to believe it herself. Bark said Foxes says, cocaine is one hell of a drug. Melt_disacream says, dude, so back when I was in middle school, I got my first boyfriend. Everything was good and fine. It was a typical weirdo middle school relationship. Anyway, fast forward to me graduating college. Literally moved away for HS. Never talked to this man again. I get a message on Instagram from him saying that it's time for him to move on and let me go. He said he wanted to reach out over the years and ask how I was and how I should have done the same, blah blah. He also mentioned that I was the best GF he had and that he finally needed to get it off his chest. BC, I haven't been a very good friend or who he thought I was. Like bruh, basically breaking up with me and saying he couldn't be my friend anymore. I don't even remember if I responded. Men are just so interesting. Suunusual says, I've had this twice. Either I'm oblivious or the guys out there are insane. Both times I was actually dating the man who became my husband. Silverwing1609 says, it's a tactic to make you want to need him now. Vinny_A1120 says, I guess it doesn't get any better when you get older. I'm 62 and went out to dinner 2 times with someone. When he asked me out a 3rd time for an overpass date, I told him, very nicely, I thought, I don't mind sharing dinner once in a while, but I don't really think we are a good match romantically. He got mad and said I was going to break up with you anyways. I didn't even know 2 dinner dates made us official. Sometimes wires get crossed and someone makes your friendship/relationship out to be more than it is. As long as you did nothing to lead him on, and you never even held hands, so clearly you didn't lead him on, that's on him, not on you. r/offmychest. Cathetic Miss says, I was raped, anal, 7 years ago. Today I had my first anal experience after that, and the curse has been broken. The 20th of July 2016, my boyfriend at the time, he was my first everything minus 18-year, raped me by forcing me, 16 at the time, to have anal sex. It was all so tough that I ended up in the hospital, bleeding and with 2 hernias in my back. He broke me completely, and the memory of this moment followed me in dreams, in other intimate situations, and I thought I would never be able to try anal again. I had a relationship with another guy for 5 years after this. He tried to persuade me into trying anal. I never accepted. I ended up things with second guy 1.5 years ago. I thought all kinds of sex were overrated at this point. I started a new relationship with someone completely different. Our first intimate moment was filled with love and support and deep conversations and understanding. He told me he could see that I had been abused before, and he understood if I wanted to wait. We waited a lot. Our encounters became deeper and deeper, and our first time felt like spring after a cold winter. Sex is amazing. I've been going to psychological therapy and I've talked about the rape since then. The memory has been long buried, and every time I think about it, it feels distant. It doesn't feel like something that happened to me. Today I told my boyfriend that I wanted to try anal, and he started kissing me holding my hand, constantly asking me how I was feeling. Carefully trying with his hands before anything else, cautiously and lovingly going forward with it. Without me even noticing, it had already happened, and I even came. The curse was broken, and he kissed me on the forehead and held me while I cried out of happiness. Diaper Bug Boy says, I had a similar experience. My first boyfriend forced himself on me and afterwards made a habit of coercing me into sex, groping me / touching me without my consent, etc. I thought I was asexual after that, but then I met my girlfriend, and it was like a switch flipped, and sex with her is unbelievably amazing. Hasnt says, are you me? Ha ha ha. Same experience. Dungeons and Dentist says, this is sweet Mayo. Woman _ with appen says, I had a similar experience. I was raped as a child and teen, and disgusted with the idea of sex at all. Even being violent to anyone who suggested it. But I lost my virginity to the sweetest person in the world. First, she eased me into the idea and helped me feel good. I wasn't ashamed or angry. I'm glad the curse is broken, Opus. May your relationship be happy. Total _sort _179 says, happy frig, I knew too. I _am _adit _Tom says, well done you for trying again. There is light at the end of the tunnel. In retrospect that might not be the best phrasing, but I've done it now. Gravitinda says, I'm so happy for you, congratulations on your healing. I just want to point out that no one should ever feel required to do anal. It is not necessary to a fulfilling sex life and was not nearly as popular a handful of years ago, particularly for women. And if you are a woman, it does have physiological health drawbacks for women if done recklessly and too often, even consensually. There are some really good articles written on the subject that explain why female pelvic floors aren't really designed for it. Many physicians are very concerned about its over-normalization via porn, and so many young women feeling compelled to do it too often. It's important to be very careful. Best wishes up, either way it's beautiful that you've been able to conquer this. Environmental Ride 779 says, that's crazy, my ex did this exact thing to me when I was 17. At the time I was a top, then I hooked up with a guy earlier this year and I loved it. Off my chest. OK Geologist 6373 says, my boyfriend is being raped. A few years ago my long distance boyfriend 16 male was raped by his partner 18 male at the time. Later his partner's friends, males around the age of 18, would also join in, and my BF would get passed around between 3 guys. It's been happening again and again over the years as they all share the same hometown. My boyfriend now has severe PTSD and is extremely depressed and suicidal. The friends took videos to hold as blackmail over my boyfriend. Boyfriend is famous, maybe a B-lister, to prevent him from ever speaking out. Boyfriend is also extremely embarrassed and refuses to tell anyone what happened to him. Only me and a few others happened to find out. He fears any legal action would leak to the public and everyone would hear about how he got raped. I know he would rather take his own life than let that happen. It's extremely hard dealing with this and the emotional burden that comes along with it, and with boyfriend being a well-known person, it's impossible to talk to anyone about the situation. Anyways, sorry for rambling. I hope this was coherent. Instrumental Course says, if he has the funds he can afford the protection. Blackmail only has authority if the blackmailed person refuses to act. Normally I'm against this, but if he has enough wealth he can harass them into submission. Hire thugs, stalking, harassment, rumor spreading, death threats, there is no shortage of god-awful methods to deploy. They are already the lowest of low, you can meet them in their ring and knock them out. I hope 2023 says, hire the Mayfair. x_shaolong_x says, hi rapists. Half dozing says, either you're being catfished into giving financial support to a scam artist or your TikTok influencer boyfriend needs to report this to the police. Assuming the story is true, they'd never leak the videos anyway, since it would be proof of a crime. No one would stigmatize someone for having been raped, Jesus Christ. Industrial_hamster says, no one would stigmatize someone for having been raped. Yes they would, and they do. All the time. Especially male rape victims. Drenson Thesht says, your last sentence couldn't be more wrong tbh. Victims get blamed and treated like shit all the time for coming out about their stories. Especially male victims. Male victims are much more likely to be ridiculed for coming out with their stories. That or people just straight up don't believe them. This is just a super bad take. It's very valid for someone to feel scared to come forward about their abuse. Orthestalene says, these chat prompts are getting out of hand. Dying Walrus says, he's a minor, they wouldn't dig their own grave that easily. Ask him to report to the police and let them know they are in possession of child porn. Threaten their family legally as well, just so they don't do anything stupid either. Ask him to seek help. Bizach just says, if he's famous he can afford some hired muscle. Seems like a case for security and maybe a splash of extralegal procurement of some documents used for blackmail. Also blackmail is illegal, and so is revenge porn. Lawyer up. r/offmychest. Princess Oitaline says, I'm 15 and my life hasn't changed since I was 10. I always thought when I became a teenager my whole routine would change from staying at home with my parents watching movies and not having any friends, only talking to my sisters and listening to music to partying, having loads of friends, going out with boys and being outgoing. I thought it'd finally be happy as a teen, but I guess it's gotten worse. That's one thing Nasukitty says. It varies between people. Your hormones are wild as a teen. There are drastic changes that's hard to manage for some, but easier for others. I wasn't too crazy as a child or teen either. I was/am shy and introverted my entire life, and there's nothing wrong with that. My stepson is 16, and he's all over the place with friends and parties. I wish he was still like he was when he was 10, because he spent time with me and his dad, and we treasured it. He looked up to us and told us he loved us all the time. Now it's just stressful with him. I'll still love him, but my goodness he's headstrong. Gentler Composure says, sorry you're feeling blue. It is best to think about the day you are living today, what your goals are, and what small acts of courage you can do to put you one teeny tiny step closer to that goal. For instance, I was super critically shy through early high school, but eventually decided that shyness was not working for me. I slowly reached out to more and more people, learned their names, asked open-ended questions. People really do love to talk about themselves lol, joining school clubs, etc. It took a few years, but by the time I graduated I felt like I had made some friends and was confident I could do so again at college. Even then, life had a way of ebbing and flowing, with really good years and not great years. The pendulum kind of swings back and forth. Anyway, you can do stuff today, little things, that will lead you to the life you want. Wishing you all the best. Take care. South Alternative 5194 says, hey op, I'm not that much older than you, and although I'm not life of the party at all, here's how I put myself out there. You said that clubs within school aren't an option for you, right? Well, I signed up for a things a little bit put of school like debate teams, I went overseas to volunteer, and I made new friends. If you're interested in a certain career or university you can go to their open days, or join a summer camp, and meet lots of like-minded people. Getting a part-time job isn't a bad thing too, you could try that. 0cot101 says, what you are actually waiting for is college. Also try joining extracurricular activities, such as sports, clubs. That's where you find friends and ways to be out of the house. But if nothing works, come us your window. r/off my chest. IC_driver88 says, I'm the heaviest I've ever been after recovering from anorexia. I was in a 3-year-long abusive relationship which didn't help at all on top of my clinical depression. Quarantine just added fuel to the fire. I feel horrible. I've never been above 150 pounds until now. I'm covered in stretch marks and only a couple items of clothing fit me anymore. I want to lose weight. I tried to go to the gym, but I just feel out of place and anxious, and I feel like everyone's watching and laughing behind my back. I've changed my ways of eating, but then I feel depressed and binge eat. I don't know what to do. I feel so trapped. I feel worse than I did when I had anorexia because at least then, people praised me. They'd marvel at my fast weight loss. They'd marvel at how skinny I was. Guys hit on me for the first time in my life, which as a girl who got bullied her whole life was unbelievable that it had happened to me. But I was killing myself. And now I'm just killing myself in the opposite direction. I don't know what to do. I want to die. I want to go to sleep and not wake up. I give up. Thiscoldba Massive says, binge eating is also disordered eating. Recovery is a long road. Please be patient with yourself. Let your therapist know what's going on with you. Phantom of Thanopera says, as someone who has spent decades struggling with eating disorders and multiple relapses, cut yourself some slack. Your metabolism is still recovering. This will take time, but it will happen. Relapsing will just set you back. My wake-up call was landing in a hospital. Don't let it get to that stage. I know how hyperfixated we can be on our size, but try to redirect that focus towards being healthy. Consult a dietitian if you can. If you can't, just focus on eating healthy, not less healthy. And exercise. I promise you no one cares what anyone else is up to at the gym, unless they are exceptionally hollow. But if that's not your thing, try something else, running, cycling, kickboxing, whatever. Stay active, eat healthy. Because of how long I battled with ED, it took years for my body to recover. But now my eyesight isn't blurry anymore, I'm not passing out, my entire life isn't just obsessing about what I put in my body, and I'm getting really, I'm strong lifting weights, focus on getting healthy not thin. It's so worth it. Pojokes Possum says, you don't have to go to the gym to work out. Start walking. Just go for a short walk, sit down and rest, if you have to, then walk back. Try and make it a little further each day, or even each week. Do what you're comfortable doing. You also don't need expensive weights. A bag of dried beans, a bag of rice, a can and a sock can all be used as weights to exercise your arms and legs. Depression can be helped with medication. I have been taking Zoloft since my wife died. It helps. I hope you can go to the doctor and get on a medication that can at least take the edge off things. r/off my chest. Sperm donor says, I 36 male recently started telling my best guy friends that I love them. I've always told my closest girlfriends that I love them without any issue, but it always felt like a taboo thing to say to my guy friends. I recently just started saying it, and to my surprise, it has always been reciprocated. I feel really lucky with the people I have in my life. A few meaningful words can really do a lot. Since a Miller_street says, it's not taboo, if you love them then it's a healthy to let them know. Glad to hear it they were receptive to it, and that the love is reciprocated. Sperm donor says, I think it is often seen as taboo for guys to share their feelings with each other where I live, but I don't think it should be. I think dudes could really learn more about supporting each other as a whole. Pseudo Kingslayer says, telling your friends you love them is a good sign of expressing that you appreciate them. Shutermkfiller says, hey man, I love you too. You keep on keeping on. Jacob says, just say it. Most people say it back without a pause. If they don't say it, then they are just not ready to say it. I like a drawing and stuff says, that's a really good and healthy thing. I'm sure you brightened their day when you said it. Long Jumping Fan 8059 says, in front of people. Gan Koskan says, got mad love for the homies. Fatanesna Keguhai says, nice, isn't it? Feels like people care if you get home safe. I will get him. Lizzie says, is that weird? I've been telling my friends I love them since high school. It's always been normal in my friend group. Themiamian says, I do that for my friends. It's nice. TKZJ says, I hug and tell my best friend since high school, 42 plus years, every time I see him. Not a damn thing wrong with telling your friends they're important to you. Spiritual Field 9925 says, all men should do this. Theus94 says, you seem like a great guy. Keep doing what you're doing and show love to your close circle. I do that too. I have a couple of friends that I would do everything for. We've been separated by distance for more than 7 years, and every time I call them, I make sure to say I love you and express my gratitude for having such wonderful people in my life. They're my ride or die. Off my chest. NSFW says, my childhood abuser is dead. The man who sexually abused me from age 5 to 7 is dead. He odd. I wish I could spit on his grave. CW. Sap. He would stick his disgusting fingers in me. He would watch me bathe and jerk off from the toilet. He convinced my brother to hold me down so he could tickle me, but he was really putting his hands inside me. He would ask me to fix his hair and sit me up against his penis. I was so young, so confused, and so scared. So much anger towards my father for not protecting me. Anger towards my brother for not protecting me, though he was also a child. The death of this piece of shit hardly makes up for the injustice, but, damn, I'm honestly relieved. I wish I could spit on his grave. I wish I could have injected that lethal dose into his veins. Additional Bison 298 says, I vote we have a glad he's gone party. What a piece of shit. I hope you're healing as well as you can, and I'm so glad he's gone. I hope it was as painful as it could be for him. Courier6 says, and I'll bring a bottomless porta potty, which will be directly above his grave, so people can shit on him. Nocturnal Xich says, hell yes, I'll bring the beer. John_Aureus says, I'm glad he is dead. I'm happy you feel relieved. I wasn't directly sexually abused, but 3 people in my life have been very sexually weird to me, plus have been physically assaulted. Frick M. Frick around _find out says, well, if you know his name you can find where he'll be buried and then go there and spit/piss whatever on his grave. Dakota Theatless says, oh honey, I'm glad he's gone, and I'm glad you're still here. Your feelings are valid, and I share the same sentiment. My abuser is dead as well, but he died of lung cancer. He literally drowned in his own fluids. It still wasn't a brutal enough death for what he did to me. Mamanova 1982 says, my abuser died in prison. Made me feel really good. Be glad he's dead. He can't hurt anyone else now. Chokachis says, feel like just dying doesn't make up enough for the abuse, might burn in hell. Irian Irvin 221 says, I'm sorry darling. I pray you can finally heal and this person rots in hell. Sometimes these kinds of assholes bring justice upon themselves. He deserved every bit of the lethal dose for what he did to you. Sending you lots of peace and healing. Hope you get through this. It can be a confusing situation to process. Substantial_cut_8426 says, always glad to hear when one of these posts die. r/offmychest. Tasty_substance1762 says, my wife came out to me and I'm broken. A few days ago my wife came out to me as a lesbian. She previously came out to me as bi and we've discussed it over the years because I always had a feeling that she wouldn't hear me. We've been married for 7 years. We have 2 beautiful girls and my youngest daughter ends treatment for leukemia next month. Life has been hard the last 3 years, and every time I feel like I make strides, it beats me up. She wants a divorce. I'm open to her exploring her sexuality and the new versions of herself. I support and love her unconditionally. I'm realizing I resonate more as masculine non-binary and am open to any and everything. I want to support her and not lose my family and not this beautiful life we've built together. I'm in shambles. She just wants to be alone. She doesn't want to be with me. She wants to explore alone. I don't know what to do. I feel selfish for trying to fight at it. Thank you for all of the words. I love her more than anything. She struggles with BPD and has multiple suicide attempts, most recent last year, where she was admitted. She's afraid of herself and afraid of hurting me, but I only want to be by her side. I just feel horrible for not wanting to lose our marriage. She wants to rediscover herself. She wants to learn who she is alone. We plan to co-parent and change the bare minimum in our kids' lives. They are the brightest lights I've ever seen. I understand her. The pain is just so severe. I struggle with mental health as well and feel toxic because I can't stop my ideations. We are great at parenting, but struggle with ourselves. We've healed so much of each other. We both come from shitty families, and it's hard for me to see a future not with. Smith 716 says, I'm sorry, man. I'm a lesbian and I know you have to be honest with yourself, but your child should be her main focus at the moment. Proof Employee 1394 says, I have to agree, with a sick child, family has to stick together to create a safe and loving environment. Sexuality comes afterwards. I know how gritting it can be to feel a certain way and not be able to act upon it as a closeted lesbian for years. But this seems a little insensitive from her side. Trutham0D says, ouch, I'm so sorry, that's just awful. Ladder Pundit says, wow. I'm so sorry. It seems like a horrible time for her to do all of this now. She couldn't wait. The focus should be on your daughter. I hope the treatments for her leukemia are successful. No_ostrich_4013 says, I get feeling like the timing is off, but it's also not something you can neatly tuck away either. Her daughter is going through major treatment, but as someone who was very ill as a child and had a parent who was not addressing their mental health and a marriage that they couldn't be in anymore, what you are suggesting isn't a great alternative. It's like compounding pain. Sometimes having a parent deal with their shit while navigating things like illness isn't going to yield the cleanest results, but it can absolutely free up their mental capacity to also be there and focus, particularly when it's addressing their identity, happiness in their marriage, and overall mental health. Sometimes it's because they gained perspective from us being so sick that they feel they have to act. As a kid, my parents dealing with their shit would have been so much easier for me than what I had to sit around 12 people, even one person, who was so deeply unhappy in every facet of their life. When my parents had a chance to find happiness again, they took it, and they became better people and better parents in the grand scheme. I guess I also feel like On the parent end of things, we have at least 3 roles at any given point, and while parenting is a major priority, I do think the expectation of not addressing our needs on a great facet of the human experience, identity, and companionship, has been detrimental to a lot of parents in the past and now. I don't know. I'm just willing to giving the mom a little amnesty about the timing. The whole situation sucks for everyone. It really does. I feel bad for everyone truly. Lesbian36 says, forgot this wasn't the LGBT subreddit, so I'll speak as a fellow lesbian, and as a fellow non-gender specific individual. First off, you are both very valid, and have every right to explore yourselves, and who you want to be. I'm sure she has been struggling with her sexuality for many years, and this is a huge thing for her to finally accept and realize. So good for her. And I'm also glad you're finding out things about yourself too. Second off, even though she wants to go through this alone, I'm sure she is not wanting to leave you behind. You have kids together, and have built a life together, and that's not something a typical person would just ditch. I would try to talk with her further on how your future will look together. You both have responsibilities to your children, and it's important that your relationship's change doesn't affect them negatively. While I always encourage people to find themselves and accept themselves, I surely find taking care of your children more important. If you two divorce, and if she finds a new partner, you shouldn't let that break your family apart. Don't hold each other back, but don't ruin each other's lives by trying to separate. At the end of the day, your kids are the most important thing. Focus on them while exploring yourselves. As long as you're both there for your kids, it'll be okay. This will be hard, especially for you, but you'll get through it. Your main role right now is to be a parental figure, and it's a role too. Off my chest. Pisaho says, NSFW, I'm a curious straight dude that lets other dudes blow him and realized I'm not about that life. So I'm a Nick and had a bit of a midlife crisis when I hit 30 and decided to experiment. Got some dude who voluntarily gives me head and he doesn't even know my real name. Usually I'd let him suck me and I'd go radio silent immediately, like I'd get up and leave from post-nut clarity. This time he sucked me off and I came in his mouth. And I guess he felt more comfortable because it has been a few times by now. He sat between my legs, mouth full of my cum, tilted his head back, and, frick, I gargled while jerking off. I don't care how objectively it is that I'll let this dude blow me, I'll accept that label. But holy hell, I'm not attracted to men and that was one of the grossest things I've ever witnessed, lol. I will not be returning. Ala Lilalo says, gargled. Lmao, some people are so, frick, in weird. Tarbuk says, nothing gay about getting your dick sucked. Sinsial Mayankapek says, you are/were experimenting. If you realize you don't enjoy having sex or romantic relationships with men, you are free to identify as straight. I'd just be very confused if you kept going to see him, lol. Bearska21 says, nothing wrong with experimenting. However, as a B female, gargling just sounds horrific. Persumaloisius says, this is the kind of early morning content I open Reddit full mayo. Roseat 1001 says, seems like the kind of behavior that's bad for your soul. I'm down with casual sex, but using someone that you don't respect as a warm body part. I'd rather just masturbate. Questionalia says, you don't have to call yourself bi if you're straight, man. Having done stuff with men sexually doesn't make you as a person sexually attracted to men. It's the equivalent of a lesbian having slept with men, but working out after that she's only into women. She's still a lesbian despite her sexual experience. If you're straight, yo. Though, you'd probably find it less disgusting if you liked the guy as a person. That's a whole other thing though. Good for you, and working stuff out. Atmosphere Material 61 says. Lumfu. Okay, couch psychologist says. So you're straight, how did you even get hard from a guy you're not attracted to? Bazvid says. Look man, I'm a red-blooded homosexual and that grossed me TF out. Gargled. Ilbata Burn says. You are definitely at least B and that's okay. Off my chest. Howard21 says. I'm obsessed with my wife. I hope this is the right place for this. My 37 female and I 45 male have been together for 8 years, married for 3. I'm very sexually attracted to her to the point I think it's a little overboard. I discussed this with her, but not to the extent that it really is. I'm honestly afraid too that it would make her uncomfortable or question me, maybe my own insecurities. My desires to pleasure her, feel her, to play with her, her lady parts, especially her bottom lady part. I absolutely love how hers looks, feels, tastes. We have a very good sex life. I of course want more. I'm here to ask the question, is this normal? Would you feel weirded out if your husband was like this towards you? Is it too much? Poison Path says. I think this is awesome. How attracted you are to her. Most couples your age complain at how boring their sex life is and how they aren't attracted to each other anymore. Good for you. It seems like you really love and adore her partner. I bet she loves that. Shit says. It's not too much. I'm the same way with my wife and she's totally cool with it in the right settings. We have multiple kids and stressful lives, so it's about picking the right time and place to express those feelings. Been together since we were 20 and now in mid-30s. I think the age has made her more attractive. It's a struggle some days. Howard21 says. Same. As she's aged, she is more attractive to me. Bittery says. Good shit man. Can't wait to have this someday. Apple Crumbled says. Man, I wish I had this problem. The underscores if says. You keep going for that bottom lady part. Breadcutter says. You are not alone. I feel as though I have to keep my passion in check sometimes as to not overwhelm my wife. As for trying new things sexually, just take it slow and talk about it. Cautious Promotion 94 says. Lucky wife. Careless underscore welder underscore 4048 says. This comment section is awesome. Talon Tittle says. I went from being married to someone that I convinced myself I was attracted to, was part of basically a cult. He was my first BF, my first everything. Waited until marriage TK have 6, to finding someone that loves me and is obsessed with me. He told me, like you explained. Before I had a horrible sex life. Couldn't even have sex on our wedding night. Tried. Wouldn't work. He's very large and has ed. Sex was nothing but a task. No pleasure at all. We were married 6 years when I ended it for a crazy amount of reasons. At this point I thought I was asexual and convinced I couldn't orgasm and several other things I won't go into right now. I had a mental breakdown after we split. I started sleeping around with men that wanted to worship my body. Treated me ways I had never been treated. I realized I was never asexual. Finally I met my boyfriend. He is obsessed with me in the ways you explained. I've experienced things I didn't think were possible and the way he makes me feel is beyond words. He too has expressed he's obsessed. The feeling that gives me is amazing. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for her. There's nothing wrong with that. Enjoy it. And no, not everyone gets to experience that. Those of us that do get to live that romantic fantasy others only see in movies. We're lucky. Off my chest. Straight underscore look underscore 7754 says. I'm attracted to chubby/overweight girls. I have always found women with overweight attractive. I love women with a soft body, a belly, big butts, etc. I also find it appealing when a woman can simply eat a lot. I sometimes feel ashamed of this because most men I know don't find it attractive at all. Honestly, I don't have much interest in women who are very sporty or slim. Am I a weird person? Careless_welder_4048 says. Nah, but don't be creepy about it or force them to eat. Beats says. Why are you worried about what other people find attractive, since they won't be a part of your daily life, living your decisions and such? Brian Inless says. That headline is from an early draft of Sir Mix-a-Lot's lyric. _whisper on my lips says. Nah, you like what you like. Lost 40s says. No, you're not weird. Lots of people are attracted to bigger women and men. I have a type, and it involves being overweight, but not extremely overweight. I_drive_a_vulva says. There's only something wrong or weird about this if you love overweight women in private and dog them in public, otherwise it's pretty normal to have a type you're into. Botanicalist says. Hello. Raging_Phoenix_I says. You like what you like. Nothing wrong with that. The Optimist 8919 says. Are you one of those feeder guys? Norman Invader 2 says. But are you a nice person? Fat Pablosperkin says. Who gives a shit? You like what you like. Embrace it. Moonweasel 906 says. Being chubby isn't a big deal. More people are overweight than not. You seem like a super shallow person for even asking. Mermaid Main says. You're not weird at all. Thanks for giving us big girls a little love. Moonwitcher 711 says. We like what we like. I'll take soft and curvy any day. Floridaman69 in Germam says. Not weird. BBW is probably your top category of porn. I also appreciate with great enthusiasm bigger women. But specifically I feel it's different from fat or overweight women. You can big and still healthy, nutrition, eating clean, active lifestyle, and their weight is proportionately placed. r/offmychest. Zesticlose Jaguar 56 says. Why are people so mean? I'm shaking with anger. My brother, 17, was having a really hard time in school. He has little to no friends. Everybody ignores him, even though he's been nothing but nice to them, and I know that for a fact. He had one friend though, or so I thought. He had lunch with his schoolmates today. He's a senior, and they all took a bunch of pictures and he looked really happy. He was looking forward to this lunch, and overall everything seemed fine. However, I just saw the photos his schoolmates posted, and they all cropped him, even his so-called best friend. Kid doesn't sound like a big deal, but he's been really sad. He doesn't deserve this. I'm very angry BC, it was so easy to just upload the photo as is. They didn't need to do that. He's the most sweet, caring boy I know, and I feel for him. He deserves better. I don't know what to do. I'm so angry I could hop on a bus RN. I live in a different city and go punch his so-called best friend in the freaking face. I want to cheer him up, but I don't know how. At least he only has 4 months left of school, Southern Hemisphere, and then he can be done with all this. Why are people so mean? He literally did nothing to them, and I was so easy to just include him. It's not fair. Urara00 says. I just know that he's truly a nice person. It's always the nice ones who get to go through this shit. Anyways, I hope that your brother gonna find better friends soon. I felt pained reading this because I have little sisters and I would be so mad if the same thing happened to them. Zildamekri says. I was in a fashion show in high school, and my photo was meant to be featured on a full page of the school yearbook, along with a few smaller photos. The popular kids found out and joined the yearbook committee last minute and removed all my photos. The rest of the committee didn't have time before it was sent off to check it through. When it was printed, my mum bought it and expected to see my photos. I felt humiliated to see that they were all replaced with photos of parties I wasn't invited to. I threw the book away. Kids are cruel AF. Gino 233 says, "It sucks at times. I went through what your brother did. I wasn't in a good place at the time. / you can give him a hug if anything." Hey Nico 1988 says, "My ex has this problem. People seem to like them or hate them. There is no in between. And I don't know why, to be honest. Sure, they are a little loud sometimes and they get excited easily, but I just see that as a charm, to be honest. Sorry that your brother is going through that crap. It's not right and it shouldn't happen at all." I'd Quantum Doinstl says, "Tell him to keep his golden heart. One day he'll find the people that are right for him and that see who he truly is. But tell him too that he doesn't need to keep the people who don't appreciate him. Hope it gets better for him soon." Stranger_danger 3000 says, "Tell him to stop being nice and to start being a one-word/short and sharp answer kinda guy. This won't help him in social settings, but at least he will stop being sad and disappointed every time something happens that was uncalled for." Dry Cauliflower 7765 says, "You don't have to downplay your anger. Your feelings are so valid. This used to happen to me in primary school, but to imagine this happening to a 17Y/0 boy in his senior year is crazy. He doesn't deserve this. I hope he finds people who are as genuine and kind as he is." r/offmychest. Sad_access 1721 says, "Update, my sex addiction is ruining my life. My friend has betrayed me. So it's only been about a month since I made my last post, but something scary happened 2 weeks ago and I don't know whether to think this is a bad thing yet. Backstory for those who don't want to read my last post, but I have a sex addiction. I have been working at recovery for about 7 months. So far 4 months without a hookup and 2 months without watching porn. I only started doing this because I fell in love with a girl, but knew I'd never be able to have a relationship with her if I stayed like this. Though as advised in my last post I should change my goal, and I have. Though I'm still good friends with the girl. Anyway, I had 2 best friends. The friend in question, who I'm extremely upset at, has been my friend since I was 13. Let's call this friend John. John has been one of my most trusted friends, and recently I have been in a rut and thought maybe having some support from a friend would help. So I told John everything. John, from what I saw, took it well and offered his ear whenever I would need it. I also told him I've slept with other 100 people, which was the only thing I could visibly see that off-put him. I told him I just wanted my life back on track so I could be normal and get to the true place I want to in my field of work. This is where the problem happens. A few days later I go and hang out with him, my roommate, and the rest of the group. This group includes the girl who I will call Katie. Katie has been giving me weird looks the whole time I was there and is avoiding talking to me. I go to my roommate and ask if Katie is okay, and he just gives me this look of sadness. He brings me into a room away from everyone and tells me that John told everyone, including Katie, about my sex addiction and how I've slept with over 100 people. How I'm disgusting and even almost got caught masturbating at my job. He also failed to tell them I was getting intensive help for my issues, but what he did tell them was that I had a major crush on Katie and have been masturbating to her Instagram photos. Which I certainly did not. I'd never violate her like that. He also told them not to tell me because we shouldn't shame him for his mental illness. I get upset and tell my roommate that yes I do have a sex addiction and that yes I did almost get caught trying to masturbate at my job, but I never masturbated to any photos of Katie and I'm getting intensive help with my issues. I also told him I've been taking Prozac which has TBH lowered my libido by a lot in the last coming weeks. I've been getting help for 7 months. He tells me that he believes me and I thought wow, I thought he'd think I was lying. He dropped another bomb on me saying that John has a huge crush on Katie and probably did this to hurt my reputation with her. That he has lived with me long enough to know I wasn't that shitty and how he didn't trust John after the way he exposed my shit like that to the whole group. He asked if he'd help me tell her what happened. He asked John if he could go out and get some beer for us and John asked me if I'd like to go. Holding back all my hatred I told him in a calm voice no thanks. He leaves and I walk into roommate's room. My roommate asks Katie to go speak to him for a moment. She says sure and opens the door to my roommate's room to see me. She gives me an extremely disgusted face which TBH really hurt me. My roommate tells her that John lied to her about what I did and likes her and that's why he tried to ruin my reputation. She is obviously shocked about this. Then after some more explanation and reasoning from my roommate, apologizes for assuming I was a pervert with a sex addiction. To which I had to prematurely explain to her that yes I did. I asked the roommate to leave the room for a bit. He does so and closes the door. Katie looks at me and apologizes again for assuming I would do that to her. I told her there was no need and people are sick. Like that. It's not her fault for protecting herself. I then explained that I do have a sex addiction and have been working on progressing to my recovery for 7 months. That I did have sex with over 100 people and that I did have a crush on her. I didn't tell her that she was my goal. I didn't want to put any more weight on her that I already have. I told her I wanted to ask her out and realized it would never work because of my issues and how it had got me thinking on how I can't live a normal life in general. How I felt like I'd lose the best job I've ever had if this kept up. She completely understood and thanked me for being honest. She told me she actually did have a crush on me, but once John lied to her she got creeped out. I asked her if she was being truthful about liking me. She told me she was being serious. She told me it wouldn't be right to date right now because of what's going on with me and I agreed. Though she said if I do hit a good recovery point that she would love to go out on a date. I agreed. I don't know if she'll actually wait for me to recover, but it is a nice thought. I will not be rushing my recovery though. I want to be cured sustainably. So we come out. John isn't back yet but my roommate has explained to our group of friends of John's lie. Some of them still gave me grossed out faces when finding out about my issue, but the others were very supportive. When John walked in all hell broke loose. Katie was screaming at him about how he could betray his friend in need like that. How he was disgusting and selfish and she would never want to be with someone like him. My roommate laid into him too and told him he wasn't welcome in his apartment anymore. My other friends who were there also cast him off. It feels like my support group has grown from 1 to 7. Though losing a lifelong friend is definitely hurting me. My other best friend who was friends with both me and John has also cut John off. Apparently John has done something similar to this to him. Just got gaslighted into thinking it was justified. I also have a plant now. It's a bonsai tree. It's thriving and so am I. I hung out with Katie recently, that was nice. It's nice to be able to be around people. Since this happened about 2 weeks ago things are still a bit awkward. John has consistently been leaving me nasty messages but oh well. I'm still extremely worried though about the future, especially because my business was just thrown out there by someone who was supposed to be my best friend. Hopefully everything goes well. Edit. I just looked at his messages out of curiosity. So I'm bisexual, and he knows that. He's just calling me the F slur and calling me a thief. Ha, I'll cheat on her once we start dating. Ha, I should just stick to men and stop being greedy, because what woman would love me? I kind of didn't want to block him in hopes of him apologizing and maybe to talk it out. Nope. I blocked him on everything and just sent his messages to the GC I have with my roommate and Katie. They Significant Cup 40-27 says, wow, nice, I wish you all the best in your recovery. Losing John is part of the recovery. Sad_access 1721 says, thank you, I definitely think it is too. Simply Passin Thrau says, my guy, I'm so proud of you, I hope you are proud of yourself too. Frick John, I'm so sorry he put you in that position, he had absolutely no right. Best of luck with your life, man. You seem to have steered it back on tracks despite your addiction, and that's more than many people can say. Kudos. Echo Pudding says, whoa, what a frick, ein update dude, I'm so sorry this happened to you. Very glad that this did not ruin your recovery progress. Friendship betrayals are one of the worst betrayals to me. I'm wishing you well. Integratedsa says, look at that. You frick, Ed John in front of everyone, and you didn't even have to take your dick out to do it. Xredneck69 says, best of luck with your recovery. Glad to hear everyone around you that matters is being supportive. Look on the bright side with John being exposed like the manipulator he is, you don't have to worry about him making it hard whenever you struggle. Addictions are a hell of a thing to beat and it won't be easy, but us internet strangers believe in you. I also have a plant now, it's a bonsai tree, also I love this random addition. Welcome to the bonsai gang. My bonsai tree that probably isn't really a bonsai tree and is just some cheap thing I got at Walmart. But it's been going strong for 6 years and is more of a small bush now. Small things to care for can really help you in the long run, like with my own depression struggles. Mr. Snuckle says, best revenge is living well, good luck with recovery. XX1KK says, yeah, be a shitty person, mental illness. That's all for this video, thank you for watching, please subscribe.